When one thinks of war, images of explosions, love, tragedy all pop up in our head. But the author Maaza Mengiste proves that a war can be much more. Hi, this is Gautam, and for this episode, we'll be looking at this book, The Shadow King by Maaza Mengiste. The novel depicts the Italian invasion of Ethiopia between the years 1935 and 1941, before and during World War II, during the reign of Benito Mussolini. Now, even though it is a war novel, the way the novel starts is quite different. It starts rather slowly, and it describes the life of a girl Hirut. Now, at the start, we get an introduction of this girl, Hirut, who's in her early teens and is working in an Ethiopian aristocratic family. We get an idea of a daily course and an introduction to her only valuable possession, a gun Vuchigra, which was given to her by her late father. Now, she is working in the family of a commander, one of the important players in the Ethiopian army, Kidan. And Kidan takes the gun out of her possession. He says that there is a war coming, and it is important that every weapon which we have, whether the weapon is an antique, it's an old one or a new one, we need to make sure we collect all of them so that we equip ourselves against the invading army. So the initial chapters seems to be away from the war. We have the relationship between Hirut, her master commander Kidan, and Kidan's wife Esther. But once the invasion starts, then the story picks up pace. In the initial phases of the war between the Ethiopians and the Italians, the Ethiopian army is severely on the battlefield because the Italians are better equipped, they're better trained. So during the initial struggles, the emperor of Ethiopia, who's considered to be like a god for the Ethiopians, leaves the country. Now, Kidan, that is one of the leading commanders faces a dilemma because if the people come to realize that the emperor has fled the country, then they will naturally lose confidence in the resistance and the battles. So, what he does is he disguises one of the flute players who's with him as the king himself. That's how we get the name, the Shadow King. The rest of the story is about the struggle between the two armies. And even if one side wins the war, eventually, but what is the cost which they had to pay for winning the war? That is what is explored in the book. Now, of the few themes which is, explored, one thing is straightforward. That is the asymmetry between the two competing armies, the difference in level of technology, the difference in level of training and all that. So it is not just it's not a representation between Ethiopia and Italy, but generally between so many battles between the invading armies, that is the colonizing forces and the natives of any country which you find in Asia and Africa in the 19th and the early part of 20th century. So that's one theme which is straightforward, but a hidden theme is about the ordeal of women which they had to undergo during the war. That women are written, and it is important that we realize that women are active participants during every war, and be it whether they are on the winning side or the losing side, the suffering which they undergo is always higher compared to men. Now, one important touch which I liked about the author is how she explores the theme of identity through an Italian photographer who's always with the Italian army, of course. Now, he is a Jew, and through this identity of being an Italian Jew, she explores who exactly a person is depending on circumstances and conditions. I'd rather not give too much away, but I think when you read the book, you will understand what I am trying to convey. The writing has a lyrical touch, and it's very tragic and real. And let me just read one passage to tell about the importance of the emperor for the people, just to show how unique it is. It goes like this: there are oaths that hold this world together, promises that cannot be left undone or unfulfilled. There is a bond between a ruler and his people, between the people and the soil, between the soil and the sun, and the sun and the tiller. There is an unspoken vow that leads the river to the tree, and the tree to its sky, the sky to the bird that flies toward new lands and other kings. But this bird, it pivots away from plumes of smoke, while a small child looks down from a hilltop and stares at all that man has wrought. Because it is all laid bare, the burning cities and mountains on fire, the ruins of homes and collapsing churches, the scorched fields, the boiling rivers, the poisoned soil and fallen trees, the exploding bombs, the choking men, the fragmented bodies, and those ununiformed columns slipping into the valley, numerous and innumerable, their rifles discharging, their bayonets swinging, their voices lifted. So I strongly recommend that you explore this tale of tragedy and finally triumph. That's it for now.